Hey y'all, shadypeach here, and in today's video we're going to be doing something a little bit different. So I've been wanting to do this video for a while now. Essentially, we are going to be doing a deck profile video. It's my first one ever. I have been doing rather well with this deck. It's a Pawpsicle deck, so Sapphire Ruby. And I said to myself, if I placed a third time in a tournament, then I would finally go ahead and create a deck profile and just show you guys what I've been using, and it seems to be working out pretty well for me. I've done 2 third places at my locals, and then at a one that's not so close to me, a card shop that's not super close to me, I have gotten first place. I haven't fought too many Ruby Sapphires usually, or I'm sorry, Ruby Amethysts. Usually when I do get my butt kicked, but for the most part it does pretty well against, I'd say, 90% of the decks that are out there on the format, with the exception of, again, of Ruby Amethyst. So just as proof, typically the tournaments I go to, whenever you place, you get these cute little pins, and then I also got this neat little lore tracker. So it's cool that Lorcana gives like little knickknacks to card shops to keep people invested. And then obviously you guys can tell I got the mat, so I love that the game comes with its own swag. I hope to eventually collect all the pins for the game. So far I've just got Lorcana and the Rapunzel pin. So we'll see. I'm going to go to another tournament on Monday. We'll see how that goes. And then of course the new set is right around the corner in February, March. So for right now, I'm just going to kind of show you guys what I've got cooking. I've seen a lot of variations of the Pawpsicle deck. This one seems to be working for me. There are a few controversial choices in terms of how many of certain cards I'm using. So let me know what you guys think. Like I said, it's been working. So obviously, I don't think anyone would disagree, but main engine of the game, got to use 4 Flavershams and 4 Pawpsicles. This is the bread and butter of the deck. If you don't know the deck, essentially, anytime you summon Flaversham, you can sacrifice an item to draw 2 cards. Pawpsicle lets you draw an item on play, and you can get rid of it to heal a character for 2. So this is the bread and butter. This is what makes the deck function. A lot of people do different kinds of variations of the deck. Some use it with like upwards of 15 to sometimes more items. Some only use Pawpsicles and shields, but you guys are going to see what I essentially do. The last tournament I did, I 2-0'd 3 out of my 4 opponents, and then the last opponent, we went 1-1, and then I lost to time. It was really just a misplay. It would have actually been a draw, but overall I think it worked out, just because the next opponent after that I 2-0'd, so I ended up getting 3rd because of that. So no one's going to argue with these, so let's go ahead and move on to the next one. So next, after that, I've got 4 Shield of Virtues. I'm just going to go ahead and zoom in a little bit for every time I'm going over a particular card. So 4 Shield of Virtues. This card is actually not just a placeholder for an item that's just a 1 cost, but it's just really got a nice effect too. Sometimes I can protect my Flaversham by just turning him from quested to ready, just in case he's in any kind of danger. So I love this card. It's a good card, not just a cheapo 1 cost. This is probably the first controversial decision. I only run 2 Fishbone Quills. Most people are telling me I'm insane. A lot of people use at least 3, if not 4. But honestly, I almost always get this guy just because I always recycle or burn through so much of my deck. And I have other things that help me ramp a lot faster, and I don't like it that it's a 3 cost, but I love that it's inkable. Typically, if I get 1 and I draw the other, I'll just ink the other because I don't really need more than 1. And at a certain point, it stops being useful, so I just like 2. That's just been working out for me. Then after that, I've got 1 Scepter of Arundel. Very, very rarely do I ever use its effect. It's just a 1 cost item. And then the last item is a Poison Apple. I do love this card. Its effect to just exert someone has saved me from so many game losses, and of course the ability to just blow up a princess can really ruin someone's day. So great card overall, but that is it for the items. Now moving on to my starting turns. I always have 3 Grammatalis and 3 Noais. It used to be at one point that I'd run 4 of each, but I don't really need that many. I find that 3 of each of these is plenty. These cards come around enough for me to get what I need from it. and more often than not, I just ink the Grand Matalas. Sometimes more than I ink the Noais, just because the effects are very nice to be able to just poke someone with that little warded effect. After that, we have 2 1-jump aheads. Now I am thinking of cutting this to 1. I wouldn't get rid of it altogether because it is amazing when I have a first turn Noai with a Pawpsicle out, or not a first turn, but I just have the starting setup of play a Pawpsicle, turn 2, play a Noai, turn 3, I play a 1-jump ahead, and whatever card I want, because Noai can sing it for free. Goes really well with, she also goes really well with Teeth and Ambitions. So I love this card, it just helps me ramp really early. It is kind of a bummer if I draw it late game. It is inkable with Fishbone Quill, but that's kind of why I'm thinking of cutting it just to 1, but it's still, I've never had a situation where I'm just like, man, I hate this card. It's done some wonders for me when it combos off as well as it can. Sometimes I can ink 3 times in a turn if I have the right cards on the field. After that, of course, we have Teeth and Ambitions, another controversial choice here. I only use 2. Most of the time I ink this card unless I'm fighting something like Amber, where somebody has like a Stitch with only 2 health or something to that effect, or a Lilo. I will obviously ink it more often than not if I'm fighting against Ruby Amethyst, because a lot of the time these are very useless against those 3 health Minnie Mouses and 3 health snakes and Mims, but it is obviously still an essential part of the deck. After that, I've got 2 Judy Hops. I used to have 4, then I cut it to 3, and then I cut it to 2. I don't want to go any lower than 2 because sometimes it's a desperate ploy. If I can't get Flaversham, sometimes I can blow up my own item to draw a card, and sometimes I can blow up my own opponent's items if they have Spellbook and I'm in danger of losing, or those flutes. Every now and then I might blow up a lantern, but the flutes and the spellbooks, the things that give my opponents lore, are very scary sometimes. So these cards are still very useful, and it's got decent stats to lore for questing, and it's inkable, so I don't really find any issues with it. But like I said, I used to run 3 at one point, and I replaced the 3rd with this guy. I can't tell you how many games this guy has saved me, and I only run 1. I have been thinking about taking another one and putting it in the deck for a replacement for 1-jump ahead, which is kind of funny because it's Aladdin and 1-jump ahead. Just basically negs a lore off of my opponent. I've had it before where my opponent gotten to 19 lore, and this thing has saved me so many games. I can win if I have the control of the field and my opponent gets to 19 lore, but obviously that's a very dangerous game to play. If I even mess up once, it's over. So this guy has been a godsend for sure. After that, we have Mickey Mouse. Again, a card not a lot of people use, but I love this guy. I think he's better than Winnie the Pooh. A lot of people like Winnie the Pooh just because his effect is instant. It's great. He's not inkable, and he doesn't have as much lore as Winnie the Pooh, but that's not really his point. If I can get him early and I can just start the cycle going, he works a lot like 1-jump ahead. He's really great at the beginning, but then late game he's kind of just there. But it's still kind of nice to just pop another lore and pop another ink into your inkwell for no cost at all. So I just used 2. I don't think I would cut one of him, but maybe, like I said, 1-jump ahead. After that, I only use 2 Nick Wild. I used to use 4 of this guy, but when I have as many items as I have, sometimes Pawpsicles don't come around as often as you'd hope, and really just him getting a Pawpsicle for 4 mana, or for 4 ink, is kind of a detriment at times. So I do like him. He's great. He is solid. I'm not taking him out, but I feel like 2 gets the job done. It's worked out well for me so far. After that, we have 3 Develop Your Brains. I could definitely see an argument for cutting this down to 2. I'd say probably the most controversial thing I have going for my deck is the number counting for just all the different cards that I play. But I cannot tell you guys how often I just ink these things, but they can really be a godsend if I am just top decking and having a top deck war with my opponent. They are amazing sometimes. After that, we have 2 Let It Go. I think most people would kind of be on that kind of bus. It is very nice. A character can sing it. I have plenty of characters that it's coming up that you can see that will sing it. Don't really want 3. Feel like that's a little too much. Then I have 3 Maui. Don't really want 4. 3 has been working. Not really much else to say on that one. Then I have 2 Tremaines. Again, I'm very conservative with my numbers. I don't like having too many uninkables in my deck, and I feel like 2 Tremaines has been working out for me really well. I could see an argument for a 3rd, but honestly, this just seems to be flying. And then we have 2 Gastons. Great card. Awesome. It just helps me recycle and helps me get the things I need if I'm in top deck wars. And that 3 extra lore is very dangerous if left unchecked. Then I have Scar. This guy has saved me so many times. There's been so many situations where my opponent thought I was going to be prepared and they just quest with all their guys, and instead I save that be prepared and I just play a Scar and I manage to kill all of their little midgets, or dwarves as it usually is, with Scar, and sometimes he even survives, and then I get to keep my be prepared. So he's pretty great when it comes to just clearing my board. It's almost like an additional be prepared at times. Speaking of which, we have, obviously, this is like you can't use Ruby and not have be prepared. I feel like it's just too powerful against those rogue decks or against Steel Song or Swarm decks. It is just an amazing card, and sometimes I'll even use it against one monster that's just annoying. So 7 to just get rid of at least 1, if not more. It's not bad, and it's singable by my Hades, which we are now at. I have 3 Hades. This guy is incredible. He can get rid of Mufasa's, so can the Let It Goes, but I like that he has presence. That's why I run 3 of him and not 3 Let It Goes. He has the lore. He has decent stats. Probably one of my favorite cards in the deck, to be honest. Love him. After that, this is my favorite card, Tamatoa. So this is the reason I run so many items. There are so many decks out there that do not have an answer for this guy. They cannot deal with his 8 health unless they're a Ruby deck and they have Be Prepared or something to that effect. But whenever I fight against Steel, a lot of the times they'll empty out their hand just to try to deal with this guy. The fact that he can get you an item on play and on quest is just ridiculous. Of course, I only really get him as a luxury. He's not really a necessity when it comes to battling back and forth with my opponent, but if I somehow get an edge and I clear out whatever my opponent has that's scary, and then in the back I start working on my own agenda by playing a Tamatoa, then my opponent really starts to sweat. This guy is, yeah, he's probably my favorite card in the entire deck. And then after that, I don't think this needs to be argued much. We have finally our 4 Maleficents. You know, I could actually see cutting this card down, but most of the time I ink it anyway because I always seem to draw it at the very beginning of the game. So having 4 is just nice. It's just an amazing card. It does what it does, has presence, has stats, has lore. There's really no downside to this card. Nothing else. That's why I love this game so much. There's not too many useless cards because you can just ink it at the end of the day. But yeah, that is the deck profile. I will probably be changing it up once I finally get to the new format that we will reach with the location, so I'm very curious to see how that'll go. But yeah, I've really been enjoying it so far. I hope you guys like that. Like I said, a little bit of a different video. And yeah, I will have a lot more pack openings coming up pretty soon. I did win a bunch of packs in each of those tournaments. I've been saving them, so I will be opening those up very soon. All right, guys. Well, let me know what you guys think. I'm sure a lot of people are very controversial, probably wanting me to use more fishbone quills. That's probably the biggest one people are screaming about, but I like it. It's been working. So yeah, you guys have a great rest of your day, and yeah, you have a good one.